Outlaw bikers mock a simple black woman, until she makes a shocking phone call. The morning air carried the smell of fresh coffee and motor oil as Maya Thompson checked her watch one last time. 6 o'clock sharp, the shopping center lot buzzed with activity as volunteers scrambled to set up registration tables, unload folding chairs and arrange the memorial display that would serve as the heart of today's charity motorcycle ride. Maya straightened the photo of her brother James, his Marine Corps uniform crisp in the early morning light. A single candle flickered beside it, casting dancing shadows across his gentle smile. She'd spent 3 years planning this ride, every detail carefully considered. The proceeds would go to the Henderson Veterans Housing Project. 20 families would finally have roofs over their heads. "Maya, should we move the food trucks closer to the entrance?" called out Sarah Chen, her co-organizer, waving from across the lot. "Perfect, where they are," Maya replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. 200 bikers had pre-registered, she'd expected maybe 50. The first riders began arriving around 6:30. A trickle that soon became a stream. Leather vests adorned with patches, telling stories of service, loss and brotherhood. Maya greeted each one personally, checking names against her list, handing out route maps and charity pins. By 7:15 the lot was nearly full. Harleys and Indians lined up in neat rows, their chrome gleaming. Everything was going according to plan, until the unmistakable roar of straight pipes shattered the morning calm. They arrived like a storm, 20 bikes in tight formation, engines screaming unnecessarily loud. The other riders instinctively parted as the newcomers muscled their way through, taking up spots already claimed by earlier arrivals. Maya recognized them immediately, the Black Reapers, notorious for causing trouble at every event they attended. Their president, a mountain of a man called Griggs, killed his engine and swung off his bike. His cut bore the Reapers' skull logo, and beneath it, a patch simply reading Prez. He walked directly to the registration table, his boots heavy on the asphalt. Well, Griggs drawled, his voice carrying across the lot. "Look what we got here, a little charity event run by..." He paused dramatically, looking Maya up and down. "What exactly are you, sweetheart? The entertainment?" Maya felt the eyes of 200 bikers on her. She'd expected pushback. There always was in this world, but not on day one. She kept her smile professional. "Good morning. Welcome to the Henderson Veterans Memorial Ride. Are you here to register?" Griggs laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "Register? What's a woman like you know about riding? About brotherhood? Hell, about veterans?" He nodded toward the memorial display. "That's your boyfriend in the picture. Bet he never told you what real soldiers think about charity rides." "My brother," Maya corrected quietly. "And he told me plenty." Several Reapers dismounted, forming a semicircle behind their president. A thin man with spider tattoos creeping up his neck stepped forward. "Using a finished soldier to make a buck. That's cold, even for..." "Careful, Snake," Griggs interrupted, but his grin suggested he enjoyed the direction of the conversation. "We're at a family event?" Maya noticed other riders beginning to shift uncomfortably. Some looked away, others whispered among themselves. The vendors near the food trucks had stopped setting up, watching the confrontation with worried expressions. "This ride supports real veterans who need real help," Maya said, her voice steady. "If you're here to be part of that, you're welcome. If not, please don't disrupt our morning." Griggs leaned across the registration table, close enough that Maya could smell stale whiskey on his breath. "Disrupt, lady, you don't know what disruption looks like. This whole thing," he gestured broadly, "is amateur hour. You think slapping together a little ride and taking pictures makes you part of our world?" Behind him, the Reapers began chuckling. Snake made a comment, too low for Maya to hear, but it sparked louder laughter. A few other riders joined in, not all of them Reapers. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she straightened a stack of registration forms. 3 years of planning. Every permit filed correctly, every detail perfect. She wouldn't let them derail this. "The ride leaves at 8:30, she announced clearly. "Registration closes at 8. We have 207 riders confirmed. Whether that number stays the same or increases is your choice." Griggs straightened up, his expression shifting. "Oh, we'll ride. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Matter of fact, we'll lead this little parade." Show you how real bikers honor the fallen. He turned to his club, raising his voice. Mount up, brothers. We got ourselves a charity ride to supervise. As the Reapers returned to their bikes, Maya caught Sarah's worried glance. Her co-organizer mouthed, "Call someone?" But Maya shook her head almost imperceptibly. She'd spent too long building relationships in this community to shatter them by running to authority at the first sign of trouble. Still, as she watched the Reapers position themselves at the front of the formation, she couldn't shake the feeling this was just the beginning. The convoy rolled out at 8:30 sharp, a gleaming serpent of chrome and leather, winding through small town streets. Maya had carefully mapped the road to avoid morning traffic, but the Reapers' constant lane changes and aggressive riding forced the pack to spread out. What should have been a dignified procession became a chaotic scramble to maintain formation. By the time they reached Greenville Veterans Memorial Park, Maya's radio crackled with complaints. 3 near misses. 2 riders forced onto the shoulder. The Reapers had turned her carefully planned event into a carnival of close calls. The park spread across 5 acres of manicured lawn, bisected by brick pathways leading to a central monument. Maya had arranged for tables to be set up near the memorial, where local restaurants would provide free meals for the homeless veterans she'd specifically invited. A small stage waited beneath a cluster of oak trees, its sound system already humming with test tones. As the riders filtered into the designated parking area, Maya noticed something immediately wrong. The Reapers had split into 2 groups. Half remained with their bikes, while the others had moved to flank the memorial display they'd transported from the shopping center. They stood like sentinels, their presence alone intimidating. "John?" Maya called to one of her volunteers, a retired Marine. "Can you help me adjust the microphone? It's feeding back." John, a stoic man who rarely showed emotion, glanced nervously at the Reapers. "Maybe we should." The whine of multiple engines cut him off. The remaining Reaper bikes roared to life in sequence, a deliberate display of coordinated noise. Griggs himself led the symphony, revving his 1200cc engine, until the sound became physically painful. Maya climbed the stage anyway, her hands gripped the podium as the Reapers continued their auditory assault. Some of the other riders were laughing now, caught up in the spectacle. Others looked embarrassed but said nothing. "Good morning, everyone," Maya began, her voice fighting against the sound system. "Thank you for joining us today to honor those who've served." "What?" Griggs shouted from his bike. "Can't hear you, sweetheart?" He gunned his engine again, the pipes responding with a thunderous clarification. The story she'd prepared about her brother, his 3 tours, his Purple Heart, his struggle with PTSD before he was finished in action. Instead, she found herself shouting basic directions. "Lunch will be served at 11. The memorial ride continues at 1. But the Reapers weren't finished. They'd orchestrated their next move with military precision. As Vietnam veteran Thomas Watkins approached the stage to share his story, 8 Reapers formed a human wall blocking the pathway. When families of homeless veterans tried to approach the food tables, Reaper members deliberately slow-walked across their path, forcing them to navigate around. "This is pathetic," Maya heard Snake mutter to another member. "Look at her up there, playing soldier's widow. Bet she wouldn't know a carburetor from a crankshaft." The cruel assessment carried across the park, intended for everyone to hear. Several Reapers laughed, and worse. So did some non-members. Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks as she watched volunteers beginning to serve food, their movements hurried and anxious. When she finally descended the stage to help distribute meals, Griggs was waiting. He'd positioned himself perfectly, blocking her path to the food line. "Let's talk business, Charity Queen. My club's been thinking. A ride this size, you should have proper security. Protection from bad elements." "The park has security," Maya responded, proud when her voice didn't shake. "Park rangers?" Griggs snorted. "Please. I'm talking about real protection. For a small fee, of course. Let's say 10% of whatever you're pulling in today." 10% of their proceeds meant 3 families would stay homeless. "We're not hiring security." "Wrong answer." Griggs stepped closer, using his bulk to create a buffer between Maya and the growing food line. "See, sometimes bad things happen at charity events. Equipment gets damaged, people get hurt. It's better to have friends who can prevent those kinds of accidents." Maya's mind raced. They'd gotten permits. 2 police officers were supposed to be patrolling the park, but the morning rush had pulled them to a traffic accident on the highway. She was alone with her volunteers against 20 experienced intimidators. "Miss Thompson?" A vendor named Pete approached cautiously. "Some teens just knocked over the drink station. We're mopping up, but..." "Accidents happen," Snake interrupted, appearing as if by magic at Griggs' shoulder. "Especially when people don't respect proper leadership." For the next hour, small disasters accumulated like gathering storm clouds. The sound system developed feedback. Someone accidentally tipped over a memorial flower arrangement. 3 homeless veterans suddenly felt too intimidated to approach the food line. But the final straw came when Maya carried a wreath to place at the temporary memorial for her brother. She'd made it herself, white roses and blue ribbons, James's favorite colors. As she approached the display, Griggs intercepted her. "Nice wreath," he commented. "Shame if something happened to it." "Nothing's going to happen to it," Maya said firmly, stepping around him. Griggs let her place the wreath, let her straighten it, let her step back to take a photo. Then, as flash after flash captured the moment, he stumbled backward, his boot catching the wreath's stand. The entire arrangement crashed to the ground, white roses scattering across gravel. The park fell silent, even the reapers stopped their posturing. Maya stared at the destroyed wreath, petals crushed into dirt, her throat burned with unshed tears, her hands trembling with rage she couldn't express. She pulled out her phone with deliberate slowness. Everyone assumed she was calling the absent police. Instead, she scrolled through her contacts, found a name marked simply GB, and pressed dial. The call connected on the first ring. Maya turned away from the crowd, speaking quietly. "It's time." 2 words, a steady voice. But something in her tone made Griggs's grin falter for the first time that day. The route to Redemption Ridge wound through 20 miles of unforgiving hills and tight curves, a natural monument to both scenic beauty and motorcycle skill. Maya had chosen it deliberately. The overlook at the summit provided the perfect venue for the ride's finale, a place where struggling veterans could find peace while surrounded by the community that supported them. But as the convoy prepared to depart Greenville, Maya gathered her closest volunteers. "Change of plans," she announced. "We're taking the old mountain road instead." "The old road?" Sarah Chen's eyes widened. "That adds 30 minutes, and it's terrible condition. Why would we—" "Trust me," Maya said, handing her a revised route map. "I need you and John to lead from here. I'll catch up at the ridge." Before anyone could question further, she slipped behind the visitor center and disappeared from view. The Reapers, having positioned themselves to lead the pack, initially didn't notice her absence. The convoy pulled out in ragged formation, with Griggs and his crew attempting to control the pace. They accelerated aggressively on straightaways, forcing riders to break formation to keep up. But where the Reapers expected anxious compliance, they found coordinated resistance. Riders communicated through hand signals, maintaining careful spacing despite the aggressive tactics. When the main route split left to the overlook, right to the mountain road, the Reapers instinctively took the left fork. They were halfway to the split before they realized only 30 riders followed them. The remaining 170 had veered right, following Sarah's lead. "What the hell?" Snake pulled alongside Griggs. "They're not following protocol." Griggs gunned his engine, fury replacing his earlier smug confidence. "Doesn't matter, we'll be at the overlook first. Set up our own reception committee." The promise of control spurred them forward. They knew the road to Redemption Ridge like their own bikes, every curve, every incline. At their current speed, they'd arrive a full hour before the convoy taking the slower route. The road narrowed as it climbed, forcing them to ride in single file. Dense forest pressed in from both sides, creating a green tunnel that blocked out increasingly gray skies threatening rain. But the Reapers pressed on, confident in their advantage. They crested the final hill as thunder rumbled overhead. Redemption Ridge opened before them, a sprawling overlook with spectacular views of the valley below. The parking area, normally empty except on peak tourist days, bustled with unexpected activity. 3 black SUVs with tinted windows circled the lot. Private security guards in tactical gear directed traffic, setting up barriers with practiced efficiency. Behind them a helicopter, not a medical or rescue bird, but a sleek corporate model, waited on the cleared landing pad at the lot's far end. Griggs killed his engine, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. What the hell is this? Some kind of rich boy adventure tour? The security team, at least 20 strong, moved with military precision. They'd cordoned off the entire parking area, leaving only a single entrance. As the Reapers approached, a guard held up his hand. "Stop right there. This area is temporarily closed for a private event." "Private?" Griggs's voice rose. "We're part of the charity ride. That means we have every right. You're not on the guest list." From the SUVs emerged more men in black suits, their earpieces marking them as more than simple security. They fanned out, creating a human wall between the Reapers and the Overlook proper. Behind them, the helicopter's engines began to warm up, the blades starting their lazy rotation. The sound grew to a whine, then a roar that drowned out all attempts at conversation. The Reapers clustered together, their earlier bravado wavering. This wasn't intimidation they could counter with their normal tactics. These weren't small-town volunteers or park rangers. This was something else entirely. "I want to speak to whoever's in charge," Griggs demanded, dismounting his bike. A security guard stepped forward, his posture suggesting former military training. "You are. The question is whether you'll do so peacefully or not." The helicopter lifted off suddenly, banking hard to the left before descending again. It landed not at the pad, but directly in the Overlook's center, rotor wash creating a dust storm that forced the Reapers to shield their eyes. As the dust settled, the helicopter's door opened. Heavy boots hit the ground first, followed by pressed military camouflage. The pilot remained at the controls, keeping the rotors spinning in idle. From the passenger side emerged another figure, smaller but somehow more commanding. As they walked around the aircraft's nose and into view, murmurs rose from the assembled security team. "Sir," one guard said crisply, snapping to attention. The tension in the air changed, shifting from confrontational to something else entirely. The Reapers, for perhaps the first time in years, found themselves uncertain how to proceed. Griggs squinted through the settling dust, trying to identify the new arrivals. The military figure moved with purpose, each step deliberate and measured. But it was the second person who made him hesitate. That jacket, those colors, that walk. "No," he muttered. "That's impossible." The helicopter's engines finally powered down, the sudden silence more profound than any sound that had come before. In the distance, thunder rolled again, closer now. Dark clouds were massing over the valley, casting everything in an increasingly ominous light. The Reapers had come to intimidate and control. Instead, they found themselves surrounded, confused, and for the first time that day genuinely worried about what would happen next. The dust continued to settle as the two figures stepped fully into view. The military uniform belonged to General Marcus Baylor, his chest adorned with so many ribbons and commendations they seemed to weigh his lean frame down. 4 stars gleamed on his collar, and his posture radiated decades of command experience. But it was the second figure that transformed the scene from tense confrontation to something else entirely. Maya Thompson no longer wore her event t-shirt and volunteer vest. Instead, she'd changed into a black leather cut identical to those worn by motorcycle clubs, though hers bore no skull or threatening imagery. Instead, gold wing patches adorned her shoulders, and across the back, in crisp lettering, National Veterans Motorcycle Alliance, founding member. "Gentlemen," General Baylor's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to addressing stadiums. "I believe some of you have business with my goddaughter." The word hung in the air like a grenade with its pin pulled. Griggs's mouth opened and closed without sound. Snake took an involuntary step backward. A contingent of 20 riders emerged from the tray line, men and women in matching NVMA cuts, their ages ranging from 30 to 70. Unlike the Reapers' aggressive posturing, these riders moved with disciplined purpose, parking their bikes in perfect formation. Maya walked directly to Griggs, her earlier apprehension replaced by steely composure. "My brother didn't just serve, Mr. Griggs. He was General Baylor's aide-de-camp. I co-founded this organization while he was on his second deployment. We stayed quiet, worked grassroots because that's how you actually help veterans. Not through intimidation." General Baylor stepped forward, producing a tablet from his jacket. Marcus read it. One of the NVMM members, a black woman with graying temples, began reciting from the screen. "The Black Reapers Motorcycle Club, founded 2017. 37 documented incidents of assault, 11 cases of theft, 5 instances of hate speech, currently under investigation in 3 counties for protection rackets targeting veteran fundraisers. That's bullsh, Griggs started. Barry Griggs, Marcus continued, reading directly. 3 outstanding warrants, 2 for assault, 1 for grand theft. Jason Snake Wilson, 7 arrests, 5 convictions. Walter Hammer James, registered offender, currently violating parole restrictions. The Reapers shifted uneasily. Some edged toward their bikes. Snake's hand inched toward his jacket pocket before a security guard's subtle shift made him think better of it. Maya's call didn't go to local police, General Baylor explained. It went to me, and through me, to the Federal Task Force on Criminal Organizations Targeting Veterans Charities. We've been building cases against clubs like yours for 6 months. From behind the SUVs emerged 5 men and women in FBI jackets, badges visible even at a distance. They fanned out, blocking the Reapers' exit routes. Here's what happens next, Maya continued, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd planned this contingency from the beginning. You have 2 choices. First option, walk away quietly. We have everything on video, but the task force focuses on prevention, not revenge. Stay away from charity events. Stay away from veteran organizations. Consider yourselves warned. Griggs sputtered, trying to regain his authority. You can't just— Second option, Maya interrupted, raising her voice. Involves handcuffs, federal charges and federal time. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. My godfather has a plane to catch to Fort Hood. The federal agents moved closer, their presence a stark reminder of the consequences. 4 of them held evidence bags containing what appeared to be security footage and photographs. You think you've won something here? Snake finally found his voice. We'll leave today, but this isn't over, lady. We know where— I really wouldn't finish that sentence, General Baylor interjected calmly. The NVMA has 5,000 members across 28 states. Every police unit in the Southeast knows Maya's name. Every veterans organization has her on speed dial, and me? I have the direct line to everyone. He stepped closer to Snake. So please, do continue. Make a threat. Give us the federal evidence we need to shut down your entire operation, instead of just warning you away. The standoff stretched on for what felt like hours but was likely minutes. Several Reapers glanced at each other, silent communication passing between them. Finally, Griggs removed his keys from his pocket and threw them on the ground. We're done here, he growled. No, Maya corrected. You're reformed. As of today, the Black Reapers will announce their dissolution. You'll return stolen property to the Henderson Food Bank, issue public apologies to the 3 charity rides you've harassed this year, and pay restitution for damages. In exchange, you walk away instead of being arrested. And how do you plan to enforce that? Griggs sneered. General Baylor nodded to the NVM members. 2 stepped forward, revealing cameras and official documentation. Everything said here is being recorded and witnessed. The agreement will be legally binding. Violate it, and federal warrants will be issued within 24 hours. The federal agents produced document after document, each one meticulously prepared. The evidence they'd gathered was overwhelming. Photos of intimidation, recorded threats, statements from victims. As the Reapers were led to sign their surrender documents, Maya overheard Snake muttering to another member. How did we not know? How did we miss all this? Because you saw what I needed you to see, Maya responded quietly. A simple charity organizer. Easy target. Someone who'd back down. She walked to the memorial wreath, still intact despite their earlier attempt to destroy it. My brother always said the best defense is controlling what information reaches the enemy. You never saw the real picture. As the last document was signed, the federal agents stepped back. The helicopter engines restarted, and within minutes, both General Baylor and his entourage were airborne, leaving the local authorities to oversee the Reapers' departure. The NVM members remained, forming a protective wall around Maya and her volunteers. True to their word, the Reapers mounted their bikes and left without further incident, their exodus marking the end of their reign of intimidation. Sarah Chen approached Maya with tears in her eyes. You knew this might happen? I hoped it wouldn't, Maya admitted. But my brother taught me to prepare for everything. Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when to call for backup. By sunset, the first social media posts appeared. A veteran from the ride had captured the entire confrontation on his phone, uploading shaky footage to Facebook with the caption, "Watch, biker gang gets exactly what they deserve when they mess with the wrong charity organizer." Within 4 hours it had been shared 12,000 times. By midnight, news stations picked up the story. "Local charity worker has secret weapons," read one headline. The video quality might have been poor, but every moment was visible. Griggs's intimidation, Maya's calm response, the dramatic arrival of the helicopter, and most importantly, the federal agent's presence. Channel 9's morning anchor led with, "A motorcycle gang learned a hard lesson yesterday when they targeted what they thought was an easy mark. Instead, they discovered Maya Thompson wasn't just any charity organizer. She was protecting something much bigger than herself." The story exploded across veteran forums. VetNet, the largest online community for service members, made it their featured discussion. "Maya Thompson is what we need more of," read the top comment. "Someone who works in the trenches, but has backup when the bullies come calling." Major motorcycle publications couldn't ignore it. American Iron magazine, which had previously remained neutral regarding club drama, published a scathing editorial, "When protection becomes predation, the Black Reapers fall from grace." The backlash against the Reapers was swift and merciless. Their main sponsors, a custom parts manufacturer and a leather goods company, issued statements distancing themselves within 24 hours. "Rebel Leather Co. does not support intimidation tactics or violence," read one press release. "We've terminated all relationships with the Black Reapers effective immediately." 48 hours after the confrontation, the ripple effects multiplied. County prosecutors in 3 states reopened investigations into Reaper activities. The federal task force publicized their existence, explaining they'd been monitoring multiple clubs targeting veterans' charities as vulnerable fundraising sources. Maya received her first media request Tuesday morning, a call from Good Morning America. By Wednesday, CNN had followed up. By Thursday, she was fielding invitations from late-night talk shows. She chose carefully, accepting only interviews that could advance her cause. On CNN, she spoke not about revenge, but about the NVMA's mission. "We've been quiet because we wanted to help veterans without drawing attention to ourselves. Sometimes staying silent means more resources go to those who need them instead of promoting our organization." The fundraising numbers told their own story. The Henderson Veterans Housing Project, which had been $50,000 short of their goal, found themselves with triple that amount within a week. Donations poured in from across the country, many with notes. "After seeing what you went through, we had to contribute." But Maya's favorite response came from someone unexpected. A former Reapers member, who'd left the club years earlier, sent her an encrypted email. "Thank you for exposing them. Their protection racket kept me quiet for too long. Others are ready to come forward now." The criminal investigations accelerated with new witnesses willing to testify. By week 2, the federal task force had arrested 7 Reapers members on various charges. Griggs himself remained free, but was served with a federal subpoena. Restaurant owners in 3 states suddenly felt safe enough to admit they'd been paying protection for years. A diner owner in Tennessee broke down crying on local news. "They said they'd burn down my place if I stopped paying. Now I can finally sleep at night." The story's impact reached unexpected places. A retired general contacted Maya with an invitation. "The Pentagon wants to study your organization's structure, how you maintained operational security, while building such an extensive network." Major veteran organizations requested meetings. The American Legion offered partnership, even international groups took notice. Australia's equivalent of the NVMA reached out about adopting similar practices. But perhaps the most significant development came 3 weeks after the confrontation. The Department of Veterans Affairs announced a new program, Federal Protection for Veteran Charities Operating in High-Risk Areas. "Every organization supporting our veterans deserves to operate without fear," the secretary announced. "We're establishing a direct line to federal resources for any charity facing intimidation." Maya's phone buzzed constantly with media requests, but she maintained her focus. The Thompson Legacy Ride, scheduled for next month, became a proving ground for everything they'd fought for. In quieter moments, she read the hundreds of messages from veterans and their families. One particularly moved her, from a Gold Star mother whose charity had been targeted by a different motorcycle gang. "Watching you stand up gave us courage to report them. They're being investigated now too. Late one evening, reviewing the explosion of donations and support, Maya called General Baylor. "Mission accomplished?" he asked. "Mission accelerated," she corrected. "They pushed us into the light years ahead of schedule. Now we have to live up to the attention." "Your brother would be proud," the general said quietly. "He'd say we have more work to do," Maya replied. "And he'd be right." As she hung up, Maya looked at the photo of James on her desk. The spotlight would fade eventually. The news cycle would move on, but the infrastructure they built, the connections, the protection, the awareness, would remain. Sometimes she realized the loudest victories were won through careful preparation in silence. 4 weeks after the confrontation at Redemption Ridge, Maya stood once again in a shopping center parking lot. But this wasn't the same nervous organizer who checked her watch that first morning. This was someone the community now recognized as both protector and connector of their veteran population. The Thompson Legacy Tour had drawn triple the attendance of her first ride. Bikes lined the lot in orderly rows, not just the expected Harleys and Indians, but a rainbow of motorcycles, sport bikes, vintage classics, even a few modified mopeds. What unified them wasn't chrome or engine size, but the blue-gold patches each rider wore. Thompson Legacy Tours supporting those who served. At the registration table, Sarah Chen handled check-ins with practiced efficiency. But where once they'd worked in nervous silence, now they were surrounded by NVMA members serving as official greeters and security. Local police had stationed officers as well, not the absent duo from before, but a full complement including the chief himself. Maya moved through the crowd with confident familiarity, greeting riders by name, many of whom she'd met during media appearances. The story of her confrontation with the Reapers had become community legend, growing with each retelling. "Maya Thompson?" A young veteran approached hesitantly. My family lost our home last year. The MVMA housing program you spoke about on CNN helped us find an apartment. I wanted to ride in your brother's honor." "James would be honored," Maya replied, clasping his hand. "What branch?" "Army. Like your brother." These interactions repeated throughout the morning, gratitude flowing in both directions. Maya had discovered that standing up to the Reapers had done more than just protect one charity ride. It had given permission to others to seek help, to come forward with their own stories of intimidation and need. The memorial to James had grown beyond a simple display. 3 local veterans had built a permanent structure, a fountain surrounded by memorial bricks, each inscribed with the name of a fallen soldier. Water flowed over smooth stones, creating a gentle music that masked the engine's roar. At 9 sharp, the riders formed up, but this time the lead position belonged to a surprise guest. Marcus "Doc" Williams, the highest-ranking black officer in the Marine Corps, had flown in overnight. He'd corresponded with Maya after seeing her story, impressed by her organizational methods. "Ladies and gentlemen," Doc's voice boomed through the sound system. "This ride isn't just about raising money, it's about showing that intimidation tactics belong in the past. That veterans' support belongs to all of us, whether we're brass or basic, riding custom or stock." The convoy rolled out in waves, organized by state rather than club affiliation. Local news crews captured the departure, but this time they didn't seek sensational footage. Instead, they focused on the families waiting at Henderson Veterans Village, the 20 homes now complete because of Maya's fundraising. As the ride progressed through small towns, something unexpected happened. Other groups joined en route. The Iron Wings motorcycle ministry added 50 riders. A Vietnam veterans group merged seamlessly with the convoy. Even a group of Gold Star mothers on their own bikes slipped into formation. By the time they reached the first checkpoint, a community center serving free meals to veterans, the count had swelled to nearly 500 riders. At each stop, Maya demonstrated what she'd learned about grassroots organizing. Instead of grand speeches, she facilitated connections. Homeless veterans met volunteers who could provide job skills training. VA representatives set up impromptu clinics to process benefit claims. Small business owners offered internships to transitioning service members. The federal task force's work continued quietly in the background. Maya occasionally received updates. 12 motorcycle clubs nationwide had disbanded rather than face investigation. Others had reformed, channeling their passion for riding into actual charitable work. The ride concluded at a transformed Redemption Ridge. Where once the Reapers had tried to assert dominance, now stood a permanent memorial garden, Local Boy Scouts had installed flags representing every military branch. A dedication plaque read, "In honor of all who serve and protect the vulnerable." As sunset painted the valley in gold and purple, Maya took the stage for what she'd planned as a brief closing speech. But as she looked out over hundreds of faces, riders, veterans, volunteers, families, the words she'd prepared felt inadequate. "My brother once told me that true strength isn't in the absence of fear, but in doing what's right despite that fear," she began. 3 months ago, I was afraid of one loud club, afraid they'd silence our mission." She paused, looking at the crowd. "But silence can be a strategy, not a surrender. We built our foundation in quiet dedication. When challenged, we didn't match violence with violence. We matched organization with organization, preparation with preparation." The setting sun illuminated her next words. "The Black Reapers thought they found an easy target. Instead, they discovered a community that protects its own. Not through intimidation, but through unity." As she spoke, she noticed movement at the edge of the crowd. General Baylor had arrived quietly, standing among the riders without ceremony. Their eyes met across the distance, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. "This tour continues next year," Maya concluded. "We'll ride farther, serve more, connect deeper. Because that's what James would have wanted. Not revenge against those who intimidate, but strength for those who serve." The applause rose like thunder, but it was what happened next that Maya would remember most. As the official ceremony ended, riders began sharing stories. Veterans who'd never spoken about their struggles found themselves surrounded by listening ears. Families who'd felt isolated discovered instant community. By moonlight, as the last riders prepared to depart, Maya received a text from an unknown number. "The Reapers are officially disbanded. Some of us want to make amends. Would like to discuss donating to your next ride, former member." She showed the message to Sarah, who raised an eyebrow. "What do you think?" Maya looked out over the valley, where headlights traced ribbons of light down the mountain roads. "I think redemption has to start somewhere, just like As she packed up the last of the event materials, she felt her phone buzz one more time. A voicemail from General Baylor. "Your brother would say you've accomplished the mission, but our work is never truly done. Call me. The Pentagon wants to discuss expanding the model nationwide." The parking lot emptied as Maya secured James's photo in its protective case. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to serve. But today had proven something important. When built with purpose and protected with wisdom, community becomes unbreakable. The last engine faded into distance. The night grew quiet, but somewhere in that silence, Maya could almost hear her brother's voice. "Mission continues."